But, speaking of funny, let's get into this Florida Ole Miss early preview here. Why I say what's funny, last season, after Ole Miss was able to upset Georgia, beat Georgia, it was at Vaught Hemingway, if I'm not mistaken. Lane Kiffin went out and said some stuff about the SEC championship game, and he got a lot of flack for it because, it came out as him being scared of competition, although people take things for what they aren't all the time. And, he was really just saying what his mind and how, hey, Notre Dame doesn't play a conference championship game, so they won't be hurt. But if I do and I lose, I will get hurt. But then Florida goes and beats them the next week or 2 weeks later. I'm pretty sure they had a bye after the Georgia game. So, and now he wishes he would have been playing in the SEC championship game to where he still could have made the playoffs. But no, this is a whole new year, a whole new Ole Miss team, especially. I mean, Florida returns a lot of pieces, but this Ole Miss team entirely brand new. Besides a couple of players, now they have a good couple of players they return, but for the most part, it's entirely new. Here, I have their offense right here. We can take a quick look at it. QB Austin Simmons, the running back room, very interesting. Nothing really mind-boggling there. I know Logan Diggs was at LSU for the beginning of his career and now at Ole Miss. But and then you have a couple. I mean, I think you trust that Lane is going to have a good enough of a receiving core or be able to scheme them open at least. It's going to be a Lane Kiffin offense. I mean, Caden Lee's a pretty good wide receiver. I know a lot of people think he has breakout potential, but I mean, Dazon Stribling and Harrison Wallace. Wallace was from Penn State, if I'm not mistaken. I mean, Caleb Odom, a former 5-star. Caleb Cunningham, who was a 5-star in the last cycle, in this coming cycle right here, going into his freshman year. It's like, so they got some young talent, but I think it's going to be a common theme here where they have some young talent, but it's not proven. It's still like they got a lot to do before you look at this Ole Miss team as the level we were looking at Georgia, Texas, depending who you are at Miami, A&M, and LSU. But you can see a foundation here with this Ole Miss team, this offense at least.
Yeah, so I'll be honest. Like this Ole Miss game last year, hand up, I was kind of a fire Billy and give Lane a try guy. I still think Lane's a really good coach. I think losing that game certainly gave me the ick a little bit, though, when it comes to Lane Kiffin. No, but I mean, looking at this year's team, it's kind of just an example of like you live by the portal, you die by the portal, right? I mean, they portaled such a good class last year, the number one transfer class in America. Obviously missed the playoff because of a couple of frustrating losses, Florida being one of them. But that was still like, if you depending on how much faith you put in the metrics and the analytics, like per SP Plus from ESPN, that was Ole Miss's best team in 60 years, the best team since the 1960s. So, it's kind of interesting coming into this year because it's like, that was your best team, on paper, production wise. You still fell short of that goal in making the playoff. And it's like, now what? They've portaled an entirely new group of guys here, a lot of turnover. It's not like it's a bad portal class, but it's also not as overtly.
It's not last year's.
It's not as overtly impressive as last year. I mean, last year when you bring in like guys like Walter Nolan and stuff, it's like, okay, Juice Wells, like they had so many good transfers. This year, it's a little more like it feels a little bit more transition-y for them. So, I mean, I think this is an interesting team. I think this is probably an upper half of the SEC team still, or at least, around that range.
Yeah. I think they have a very realistic floor. That is like 8-4, maybe 7-5.
Yeah, I agree. But I also don't really see this team at all. Like, we talked about A&M a few weeks ago. I don't see A&M as like a surefire playoff contender, but I think they're a lot more so than like this Ole Miss team is. I really don't see this Ole Miss team being a playoff contender. I mean, like you said, looking at the offense, I mean, Austin Simmons has played well. A guy Florida had committed at one point. He has played well in very small reps. I think his extended action mostly was against Georgia. Am I wrong?
He had one drive against Georgia that's where everyone is talking about why Austin Simmons could be the breakout star in the SEC.
Yeah, and I mean, like, look, I trust Lane with quarterbacks. Like, I'm sure Austin Simmons will be fine. It'll be fine. But I mean, Jackson Dart was one of the best quarterbacks they've had in a long time.
Yeah.
I just don't. Like it's kind of a recurring theme with this team. It's like it's not bad, but it's like I don't really see how you don't take a step back from what you were last year.
Yeah, I think one thing about this Ole Miss team last year, I mean, they suffered some injuries in the offensive line, but I feel like they weren't physical enough on that offensive front. But they
Mm-hmm.
still, I mean, you go look at what they had. They had Jackson Dart, who was a first round pick. Um, Juice Wells. Why am I forgetting the receivers' names right now? um, why am I forgetting all of them?
Uh, Man, I know them. Like I just can't I'm blanking on their names right now. Hold on, I have their
Yeah,
stats up. I got it. It's yeah, Trey Harris, Jordan
Trey Harris.
Watkins,
Yeah,
Caden Lee. Yeah, all had. They were
Juice
actually all
Wells.
three of those
And
guys were more productive than Juice was.
yeah, so I mean, Trey Harris, Jordan Watkins, the tight end, Caden Priest-Corner was really good. So it's like they lose
Mm-hmm.
all of those guys. They do return one of them in Caden Lee, but it's like,
Yeah,
are those guys able to step up enough to make up for maybe a lack of physicality on the offensive line?
yeah,
I don't know. I mean, probably not,
yeah.
but maybe we're wrong here. I mean, and again, the running back room isn't all inspiring. I mean, again, we talked
No,
about. I mean, Logan Diggs. I mean, Kawan Lacey transferring from Missouri, like didn't really do anything, which is a mid to low 4-star recruit. So it's like
yeah.
it's a lot of kind of just good, but not mid to good. Besides, maybe Austin Simmons and like Caden Lee.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, this wasn't a particularly good running back room last year. They lost
No,
Quinshawn
well,
Judkins and kind of struggled to replace him. It wasn't like overtly productive. Um, but like, yeah, I mean, Diggs is interesting. Like Diggs had his moments at LSU where he was promising. He transferred here last year. I'm pretty sure he was hurt all of last year and didn't play. Okay, he played. He had
yeah.
one attempt for 15 yards last year, so he played a little
Hmm.
and a catch. So he played a little bit, but he was hurt for most of the year. So I mean, he's back. Like I think they expected him to be more in the fold last year, but like we'll see there. But yeah, I think between the offensive line and just I think the questions at the skill positions, the questions with Austin Simmons at quarterback, like I don't really see this being a particularly prolific offense, at least compared to what they were last year.
Yeah, I think you're looking at the offensive end. I mean, I don't even think they were that prolific last year. I mean, they
Mhm.
statistically, you look at it, and they were one. I mean, hey, we previewed this game, the game going into last year,
Yeah.
and I had brought up comments people have left me, saying were telling me that they were the best offense. Just look at their yards, look at their points per games. But hey, I was like, it's a bunch of kind of just garbage. Like in the game, they put up a lot of points against Wake Forest and then like their other, garbage opponents. Like it wasn't that impressive. And then in SEC play, I think they had 2 games where they scored more than 30. And I believe it was Arkansas and Oklahoma. Like outside of that, I don't think they scored more than 30 at all.
Yeah, looks like you're right. Yeah, they didn't even score 30. They only scored 26 in the Oklahoma game. They only scored 30 once. They scored 60. They dropped 63 on Arkansas. That
Yeah.
was it.
So it's like they had like 5 or 6 games, not including the bowl game, where they put up a ton of yards and points. But then outside of that, it's like maybe they put up yards in those games where they didn't score over 30. But this is a team that just couldn't convert and score touchdowns when it mattered. I mean, go look at the Kentucky game. Look at our game. Look at the LSU game. I mean, honestly, they should have not lost any of those games. I mean, especially that Kentucky game, but like they should not have lost to us. They shouldn't have lost to LSU. That
Mhm.
should have been a team that was really good. And it's like now you look at the offense. They replaced so many good players, and maybe Austin Simmons is another level than Jackson Dart was. But are we projecting a guy who has no starts to be Jackson Dart? I know I'm not. To be
No, I
better
mean,
than
yeah,
Jackson Dart.
yeah. I mean, I think Jackson Dart was really good, and like obviously he kind of melted down at the end of that Florida game, but like Jackson Dart was still a very good quarterback for them the last 3 years. Was he a 3-year starter at Ole Miss? At least two. I think he was three.
Yeah, 3 sounds
But
right. Because
either
2022, I'm
way,
pretty sure.
Yeah, I think so because he had started at USC. Yeah, I mean, again, it's like this isn't a bad team. I think this is like a competitive team in the SEC. It's just like they fell short of expectations last year, and most of those guys that created those expectations are now gone.
Mhm.
So I don't know. Like I again, none of it's like bad. It's not like I don't. There's no position group where I'm like this is abysmal. This is a major problem. It's just it feels like kind of consistent mild downgrades across the board. You know what I mean?
Mhm. Yeah, it's very true. I think another part that had Ole Miss so hyped going into last
Mhm.
year wasn't just the transfers. I mean, it was transfers, but like Jackson Dart, he was a transfer, but he had 2 years of experience. And
Mhm.
Trey, my God, I'm already forgetting
Trey
their names right
Harris.
now. Trey Harris,
Yeah.
like I'm pretty sure he was already in another year there. Like they were transfers, but guys that they had developed, and that's kind of where I see this Ole Miss team where they're at the point to where they had a big transfer class, and right now it's not huge names, but maybe in a couple years those guys will develop, and maybe the next 2 years of good seasons, and then they'll bring in a transfer class with the Walter Nolans and Princely amount of millions and stuff. But
Mhm.
let's get on to the defense here because this is where I think they take the biggest step back. I mean, I don't think
Yeah.
it's possible for them not to take a massive step back. I mean,
Oh.
you lose Walter Nolan, who I think was one of the best players in, I think is one of the best players in college football last year. Like you
Mhm.
watch him, and it's kind of mind boggling to not how he wasn't like a top 10 pick in the
Yeah.
NFL draft. I mean, especially if you watch the Florida Ole Miss game, it felt like he was the only defensive player for Ole Miss, and he was getting stuff done for him. Like he was
Yeah.
going insane in that game, and they lose JJ Pegues, who was a veteran nose tackle for him. Um,
And
Princely,
offensive weapon.
yeah, offensive weapon right there. They also lose Princely Montemillion, who was really good at rushing the passer. Was drafted in the third round, right?
Princely, yeah, something like that. That sounds right.
So was a really awesome player on that front seven. It's like you lose three really valuable players, and you replace them. We see here Deshaun Womack, a former 5-star, another kid from LSU, and it's
Mhm.
like he hasn't done anything
No.
yet.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe we'll have a good year this season, then next season he could have a breakout. But like
Mhm.
right now, all that Deshaun Womack is living off of is maybe what they've seen in practice and his 5-star status. Like, I don't think
Yeah,
he's
he's had a
someone you look
couple
at.
moments. Sorry, I was saying he's had a couple moments in game. He kind of has played a little bit over the last couple years,
Mhm.
but yeah, very, very much an unproven player there in Deshaun Womack.
Yep, and then sorry, Xavier Harris, like another unproven who was like their backup last year,
Uh-huh.
maybe was solid, like someone that you would maybe expect to take another leap. I'm not even sure who Jamarius Brown is. He had he had 17 tackles, half a sack last year. So, it's guys that played some last year. They didn't go in the portal to replace or anything like that. And then the one that's really intrigued me here is Princewell Umanamilian.
Mhm.
Because he was, I mean, let me pull it up right here. Obviously, the brother of Princely Million. And if you pull up his 247 ranking, coming out of high school, he was ranked 268, the number 26 edge. So he's a solid 4-star prospect, went to Nebraska. But then his transfer ranking,
Yeah. Okay,
high
I'm glad you're bringing this
4-star,
up.
number 4 edge and 19th overall player in the class. He had, what was it? He had like 1.5 career sacks.
He had half a sack last season.
Yeah, he has 1.5 career, half a sack last season. Why is his ranking so high?
Name recognition. I mean, I know that recruiting ranking out of high school weighs pretty heavily into transfer recruiting, but like there were still had to have been a decent amount of
No,
guys that were ranked higher than Princewell coming out of high
it's
school.
not even like
So yeah,
where he's ranked among players, but like his grading is a
yeah,
94,
yeah.
which is like a top 100 player basically in high school. Like the other edges around him, let me take a look here. I mean, Damon Wilson going from Georgia to Missouri, he was a really good player. That's a really tough loss for Georgia, actually. Patrick Payton, we'll see what you get from him.
Your
David
mileage may
ba-
vary on that one.
Yeah, David Bailey is someone who I think is a really good player.
Yeah,
I think he's gonna be
that's a
phenomenal for Texas
huge
Tech.
pickup for Texas Tech. Yeah, that's massive.
So then it's Princewell, and I don't know who Romello Height is, to be honest, but going to Texas Tech. James Williams was a really good player for Nebraska last year as well. Will Helt, really good player. Elo
Yeah.
Modoze going to Georgia. It's Marvin. I'd have Marvin Jones. I mean, there's no reason not to have Marvin Jones above him. Like,
Mhm.
there's so many names here. I mean, Jack Pyburn. I feel like he should 100% even be above Princewell.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, he
I
still had better
genuinely
sack production, right?
and TJ
Despite
Searcy. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. Like, it's just it doesn't make sense. I don't understand what happened there.
Yeah, that was weird. And I remember that being like a thing, and it was like, well, that'll even out as more guys enter the transfer portal, and it kind of just didn't. I mean, at one point he
No,
was like the #1 player in the transfer portal or something
I remember
ridiculous.
that. Yeah,
But even then it evened out to like still top 20, which is kind of wild.
yeah.
So
And
yeah,
it's
like
not even his ranking; it's the grading. Like getting a .94.
yeah.
It just doesn't make sense at all.
Yeah, that's very bizarre. That was one of the more bigger oddities of the offseason transfer portal.
Yep. But then you look at the linebacker core. This is probably where their best returning spot. So
Yeah.
TJ Daugherty had 2 sacks last year, 76 tackles. Returning starter, if I'm not mistaken. He's a good player there, proven SEC production. But then the real big player here is Son Tareen Perkins.
Yeah.
Had 10 and a half sacks last year. Potential first round pick, former 5-star. Like this is a home run for them, but really good player for them. That's maybe their best returning player on the roster.
Yeah. No, Perkins is an
Definitely.
absolute stud. Perkins is a
Yeah.
stud. Can play everywhere, can do anything, like plays off the ball, like you said, rushes the passer, 10.5 double-digit sacks. Like
Mm-hmm.
he is like just the prototypical like Swiss Army knife outside linebacker, like exactly what you want. He's an absolute baller, and he's the only reason that I'm like still semi intrigued by this defense.
Yeah, I mean, outside of him, it's interesting. They replaced their entire secondary basically. Here,
Yeah.
I mean, you see it right here. Transfer starter left corner, transfer starting the entire secondary projected at least is transfers. I know Nick Cole has been in the program, former 4-star. Chris
Mhm.
Graves as well. I think it's now his second year there. Former Miami player, if I'm not mistaken. So again, even I'm pretty sure Cole was also a transfer. Okay, no, he wasn't. But still, like Graves was a transfer. Even the players who are still on the roster, some of them are transfers. I mean, Sage Ryan is someone who never lived up to his high expectations
Yeah.
going to LSU. I mean, I remember when he was going there, the DB court unit was starting to fall off for LSU. And it's like, hey,
Mhm.
especially the safeties, like, we're bringing in Sage Ryan, a 5-star guy, and got playing time early and just
Mhm.
was never able to do anything with it. So it's like, I mean, with how many players they took, I mean, I feel like it's going to be good. I mean, Jalen Braxton's a solid corner. Pretty sure was injured last year. But like, I mean, do you look at this corner, this DB core, and be like, yeah, they're stopping Dallas Wilson, J. Michael Sturdivant, Trey Wilson, and DJ Lagway throwing the ball, like, unless Sunterrain Perkins is getting pressure every single down, like,
Mhm.
I don't think our offense should have a problem with this defense at all.
Yeah, I mean, there's talent here. I'm just like inherently skeptical of a secondary that's all transfers. Just like I think that's an important where a position where gelling together and like communication is so important. And like if you don't
Mhm.
have the experience of all playing together, like you're just mixing and matching. Like I think that's kind of a recipe for disaster. I mean, like, and again, there's nothing like super overwhelming here. I mean, Sage Ryan, like you said, former 5-star recruit that has played a little bit, kind of played all over the field, played at corner, nickel, and safety. Never really became like a massive game changer. I mean, obviously Lane kind of banking on the talent here with this one,
Mhm.
but like, yeah, again, there's nothing here. Like of all this, for such a heavily portal defense, it's kind of wild that the only thing here that has me really like that's interesting is Perkins,
Yeah.
because he's already proven himself to be a great player. But there's not really like last year there was Walter Nolan. There's not really a Walter Nolan
No.
of this transfer class. I think all of them are guys that for one, transfer for one reason or another, but they're not guys that, you're adding and it's like, wow, what a coup for Lane Kiffin.
Yeah, I mean, you look at their defense from last year, and I don't think it's crazy to say it was the best defense in the country. I mean, it's pass rush, it's run defense. Only one running back or one team had a player go for over 100 yards rushing on them. Shout out Montrell Johnson there, but I mean, it was what are their numbers from last year? I mean, they didn't give up many points last year.
No, they did not.
I'm pulling it up now. Okay, here. So, 76 to 0 to Furman. That's what I'm talking about. Them stat padding a bit, but 0, 3, 6, 13, 20 against Kentucky. That 3 to South Carolina, 29 to LSU, 14 to OU, 31 to Arkansas. But that game, I'm pretty sure they had the backups in at halftime at that point. 10 to Georgia, then 24 to us, and 14 to Mississippi State, and 52 to 20 win over Duke. So it's that was a really elite defense. Now, maybe you could argue they didn't face many elite offenses or really good, even debatably good offenses. I mean, South Carolina is probably the one that comes to your mind, but they were hurt that game. I mean, it's funny looking back at South Carolina. Don't want to deviate too much here, but South Carolina, at the midway point of the year, it was a team that no one really expected to break out how they did at the end of the year. But sticking with Ole Miss here, I mean, that defense last year was just prolific, and they lose nearly everything from it besides a couple players. The linebackers, they lose everything but the linebackers, really. Yeah. And I think it carried them a bit more than people realized last year, and I don't think they can do it again.
Yeah, and it's do what again? They went 9-3. That's kind of the thing. It's this team disappointed even with a team that was on paper, again, its best in 60 years. So, I mean, I think looking at this game overall, I think the positioning of it late in the season is a little worrisome. It kind of does feel like potential trap game material right ahead of Tennessee. If you're 8-2 going into that game, is that a game where you worry about losing focus when a playoff spot's within reach potentially? But I mean, on paper, there's just nothing about this matchup that's particularly scary to me. Again, I think they're going to be solid. I think they'll probably be fairly similar to Florida's weight class within the SEC this year. But I don't think there's any position where I feel like Florida's really overwhelmed here.
Yeah, I mean, you look back. I mean, you may even look at could be a revenge game for Ole Miss, but I feel like over the Lane Kiffin tenure, if you go and look back at revenge games, I mean, really just specifically Alabama, I get because I mean they were winning they've won a lot of games under Lane. I don't know if that's really been something that has motivated them a ton. I mean, the Georgia game last year, it's they went all in on Georgia, and they were able to beat them into the ground. But I don't know if it's something that's going to be scary enough, even at Vaught Hemingway.
Yeah.
I don't know if this is a game that I'm too worried about, even though, if you remember back in the spring, when we did or before the spring, I should say, right after the season, we did our original season predictions. And I kind of picked this as hey, this is the upset game for us because I wasn't going to pick us to go 11-1 there. But so I had to pick that second loss. So I just don't know if Ole Miss has the firepower to beat us offensively or defensively. So I think this is a pretty secure win. But, anything can happen in college football. I mean, maybe Austin Simmons, there are people who are really high in Austin Simmons. They're talking about him in New York. If he is that good, I mean, Jackson Dart wasn't in New York. I don't think so. No. I mean, maybe if Austin Simmons is a bit better and maybe they can close on drives a bit better against the good teams or in those close games that it can take them another step. But I don't know if I see that. Hey, I mean, what is the Ole Miss schedule this year? It's really easy to start the year, at least. I mean, it's pretty easy the entire year from the.
Yeah, I don't think they play a premier non-conference game.
I mean, when is their earliest big time game?
Tulane at home is the toughest they got.
They play Kentucky. They play at Kentucky week 2. I mean,
yeah,
I'm as low as you can be on Kentucky. I mean,
Kentucky's going to be. They're going to be. I do too. They're going to be horrendous this year.
Yeah. I mean, when will we actually learn what Austin Simmons is? Like, I don't think you learn it against Kentucky. Arkansas, I mean, I think they'll be decent. Maybe that's when
I
you
mean,
learn about them.
Arkansas returns a ton of players from a defense
Yep.
that was not very good. So like that's kind of like take that for what it's worth.
Yeah. I mean, Tulane, I really like John Sumerall, but I mean, maybe Jake
Yeah.
Retzlaff, he's not the BYU anymore, so I don't know what to call him, but
Yeah.
Jake Retzlaff,
Yeah.
maybe they can get something out of Ole Miss that no one else will in the first 3 weeks of the season. But then that LSU game, that's probably going to be a huge game for both teams there because Ole
Yeah.
Miss should be undefeated going to that game, and if they are and they beat LSU, then people will start talking about them as a playoff team. And hey, I have LSU already having 2 losses at that point, so they will need to win that game. So I don't know. Ole Miss has a lot of fun games on their schedule, but like
And there's
not
really
like big time
only
opponents.
no, and there's really only 2 here from looking at it that I think that I'm like confident in saying they'll be an underdog going into, which would be LSU at home and then at Georgia. Like I mean, Florida
You're
will
confident
see
they're
it.
going to be an underdog hosting LSU?
I'm pretty confident they'll be an underdog hosting LSU. I mean, obviously, if LSU loses to Clemson in Florida, then maybe not. But I mean, I would say like odds are they will be a pretty hefty underdog in that game. Obviously, they will be at Georgia. I mean, maybe at Oklahoma, we'll see how good they are. Maybe home against South Carolina. Obviously, depends how Florida looks mid-November. But like, yeah, this schedule, like now that I like actually look at it, I mean, it wouldn't take a lot for this to be a CFP team this year, even if they're not all that good.
Yep, absolutely. So, final predictions here for this game before this season. I think it's pretty obvious we're both going to take Florida here to win this
Yeah.
game. I mean, the talent difference, I think, is just too much, and proven experience is going to be a little bit too much for Ole Miss to handle.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think Florida handled this game last year. I think Ole Miss is going to take a step back. I mean, like I said, I think the positioning, I think it is a potential trap game for Florida, just with the way it's spaced out in the schedule. But I just think if Florida is the team that we expect them to be, this is just not a game they're going to struggle with. I think they'll struggle with other games, and we'll get into one of them that I think they might struggle in just a few minutes. But I think this is one where if this is what we think this is for Billy Napier and this Florida program, like I don't think this is going to be a major struggle on the road against this Ole Miss team.
Yeah, absolutely.